Banksy also creates a couple of pieces in the jungle, and we're going to look at a couple of specific ones, focusing on this one. Now, this artwork depicts Steve Jobs, the son of a Syrian migrant, carrying an early Apple computer in a bin bag of possessions. And this is an interesting piece. It's being painted in the jungle, or what's called the jungle in Calais, France. The jungle in Calais is where migrants, specifically migrant refugees from Syria and the Middle East, will congregate as they try and get across to England. And so you have this sort of informal camp that takes place there at this one spot in Calais, and it is, of course, referred to as the jungle. The work is intended to draw attention to the benefits of migration. In a rare public statement, Banksy said, "We're often led to believe migration is a drain on the country's resources, but Steve Jobs was the son of a Syrian migrant. Apple is the world's most profitable company. It pays over $7 billion a year in taxes, and it only exists because they allowed in a young man from Homs, from Syria." And that's kind of the point of the piece. How many possible Steve Jobs are lost in migrant refugee camps? How many possible breakthroughs in technology could we have if everyone was allowed to be heard, if we respected everyone the same way? The work, painted on a concrete bridge in the camps, shows Jobs in his trademark black turtleneck, and round glasses. And he appears to be carrying a bin bag full of his possessions, as if he were a migrant, putting him right in the same situation, giving us the idea that had his lot in life turned out differently, had he not been born into the middle class, maybe this is what would have happened to him. And is someone really going to take a new migrant seriously when he comes to you with something as crazy as the idea of the personal computer in the late 70s and early 80s? In pictures posted on the artist's website, this work can be seen near tents and adjacent to another piece of graffiti, which reads, "Nobody deserves to live this way." The camp in Calais was, at the time, home to about 7,000 migrants and refugees, the majority from Syria, Afghanistan, and Eritrea, places of great civic unrest where people are trying to run away from the problems that are there, not the sort of minor issues like credit problems or things like that, but they're literally trying to survive. If you don't know if your home's going to be bombed tomorrow, you probably don't want to live in it. And so that draws people out. But the people in the countries that they're coming to frequently see them as a drain on resources rather than a potential boon to the economy, because these people will come in, they bring in new skills, they bring in new ideas, and they might bring in new technologies. Now, while at the camp, he paints a couple of other pieces, one of which is this depiction of the Raft of the Medusa. Now, we talked about the Raft of the Medusa before, the actual Raft of the Medusa from the 19th century, but here it's being depicted in stencil form with a couple of small modifications. And this is, of course, based on Theodore Géricault's painting of the Raft of the Medusa, but in this case depicting refugees waving towards a luxury yacht. Now let's look at this for a second. When we look at this piece, at the original piece, we see a slave woman intentionally chosen, or a woman of African descent, intentionally chosen at the top of the pyramid. She is there because this is a statement against slavery. France had just outlawed slavery, and she is waving down a ship in the background, which we see here, which is seeing them and will rescue them. But in 2015, things are different. Syrian refugees find themselves in much the same situation. They're often abandoned by the captains of the ships that they hire onto. They're left at sea adrift. And luxury yachts and other people, even Coast Guard ships from various countries will often ignore them, hoping that they die rather than get to the shore where they become a so-called drain on resources. And here we see the luxury yacht, giving us that sense, almost like the gleaners, of the vast inequity in society between the wealthy and the poor refugees. These people on this yacht are more than capable of stopping, picking up the raft, and assisting the people aboard. But they choose not to because they see, instead of humanity, they see grifters. And this dehumanization is a huge problem when you get into refugee issues. That's what Banksy is trying to do. He's trying to humanize the refugees for us, both in this piece as well as the Steve Jobs piece. He's trying to humanize them. He's trying to draw our attention to the fact that these people may be far more useful to our society than they are a drain. And that's the beauty of it. Both of these pieces are pretty quick to understand, pretty quick to view, but the message is very, very deep, using those ideas of commercial art, of getting your message across quickly, and applying it to a deeper message of political and social criticism through street art.